Hello, I'm Dr. Alex Arorbia, an assistant professor at Rochester Institute of Technology's Computer Science Department.
And I'm Dr. Alex Kelly, an assistant professor at Carleton University's Department of Cognitive Science. The work we are presenting here is an ongoing research program. This research program pulls together our respective research experience to create a new cognitive architecture, a framework for modeling human or animal cognition or for creating intelligent agents. So our inspiration is the common model of cognition. Cognitive architectures serve as a unified theory of cognition and computational frameworks for models of specific tasks. 40 years of work have developed hundreds of cognitive architectures with strong commonalities, suggesting an emerging consensus on the principles of cognition. On this basis was proposed the common model of cognition, a high-level theory of the modules of the mind and how they interact. The common model consists of perceptual and motor modules that interact with the agent's environment, working memory to hold the active data in the agent's mind, and a declarative memory system that holds the agent's knowledge, and a procedural memory system that controls information flow and evaluates possible actions. To implement the common model of cognition, we combine two biologically plausible neural models, neural generative coding and vector-symbolic architectures. By combining the two, we create a model of cognition that has the power of modern machine learning techniques while retaining long-term memory, single trial and transfer learning, and other capacities associated with high-level cognition. Our intent is to work towards a cognitive architecture capable of capturing human performance at all scales of learning, from half-hour lab experiment to skills acquired over a lifetime. In this talk, we present the first step in the architecture's development. Back in the 80s, Douglas Hintzman proposed a computational model of human memory called Minerva-2, intended as a model of long-term memory. In the decades of research since, Minerva-2 has been shown to account for a wide variety of human behavior in learning, memory, decision-making, and language processing. Minerva-2 is provably equivalent to a very large network that uses Hebbian learning. Minerva-2 is also very similar to the attention layers of transformer neural networks. Minerva-2 is a fairly simple model. Its storage is just a giant table, and each new observation is a new row in that table. Retrieval is a weighted sum of all stored observations, each weighted by the similarity to some retrieval Q. Similarity is raised to some exponent to emphasize the contribution of the most similar memories to retrieval. The original Minerva-2 used an exponent of 3, but larger exponents can be used for sharper memory retrieval.
To implement the modules in CogNGen, such as the motor action system and the procedural memory, we crafted circuits based on a form of predictive coding known as neural generative coding, or NGC for short. NGC is a general family of circuit models that address key limitations and neurobiological criticisms of backpropagation of errors, or backprop for short. In essence, an NGC circuit learns by an iterative form of predict then correct, where internal layers of neurons generate hypotheses about their local environment and then correct these based on empirical data. In contrast to a backprop neural circuit, shown in the topmost diagram labeled as backprop, the layers of neurons in an NGC circuit, the middle diagram labeled as NGC, operate by passing local error messages that encode mismatch information to neighboring neurons through feedback error synapses. The equations below, equations 1 through 3, depict the following. 1. Neural layer state update dynamics, which combine various messages passed on by other neurons, the way that neurons, deep pyramidal cells in a given layer, generate hypotheses for number 2, and 3, the way that special era neurons, or superficial pyramidal neuron cells, encode mismatch signals for learning and inference. With the building blocks described earlier, we now turn our attention to the full CogNGen architecture itself, a general diagram of which is depicted here. With respect to perception, in a complete CogNGen instantiation, we implement NGC circuits to operate as encoders and decoders for processing various modalities. While the framework can support this, we opted in this study to leverage a problem-specific encoder and decoder to speed up simulation. Nevertheless, this highlights another flexibility of CogNGen, the ability to utilize problem-specific modules to facilitate focusing on other elements or aspects of cognition. With respect to CogNGen's current implementation of procedural memory, we implemented a special circuit that acts as a dynamics model, also playing the role of the basal ganglia. Specifically, this circuit acts as a reactive generative model on the latent space representation of the environment and generates two scalar signals, a surprisal signal to encourage exploration, as well as a goal-orienting signal to drive the agent to solve a given task. This setup means that CogNGen implements a generalized form of active inference. The motor action module within CogNGen generates signals that represent the actual actions to be taken by a CogNGen agent. Our motor circuit actually produces two action signal vectors, an internal action meant to manipulate internal memory buffers, and an external action meant to manipulate the environment itself. The various internal components of CogNGen are glued together with pattern vector buffers, inspired by the working buffers inherent to architectures such as ACT-R. In short, these are modifiable, clearable, self-recurrent buffers that encode latent states. The Episodic Memory module serves as the information replay buffer for CogNGen, facilitating a more stable learning process over time. Notably, we implement the episodic memory as a Minerva-2 circuit, which receives partial information from a memory buffer and stores this for later potential replay at any step in time. CogNGen offers specialized algorithms for storing pattern sequences and sampling memories. In short, the episodic memory is sampled every time step to trigger synaptic updates for the motor action and procedural dynamic circuits, meaning that CogNGen learns online and incrementally.
We test CogNGen on 4 types of maze task: a random empty room, where the starting location of the agent and the location of the exit varies randomly; a multi-room task consisting of navigating multiple small rooms; an unlock task where the agent must find a key, pick it up, and use it to open a door; and a memory task where the agent must learn to pick the path that matches the object it saw at the start of the task. We compare against 3 deep Q learning networks. DeepQN is just a standard deep Q network. R&D is a deep Q network that uses random network distillation, a type of intrinsic curiosity model, and BBold, a deep Q network that uses the BBold exploration framework. Here is performance on the random empty room task. For all models over repeated attempts at the maze, reward received by the model increases and episode length, time to complete the maze, decreases. We can see that CogNGen is competitive with powerful reinforcement learning baselines. The standard deep Q network shows the slowest learning. In order to achieve consistent, high-quality performance from R&D and BBold models, we had to provide those models with access to information that CogNGen does not have: the objective X and Y coordinates of the agent, as well as a hash table of X and Y coordinates as a memory system indicating where the agent has previously visited, in order to encourage exploration in novel regions of the maze. CogNGen achieved its performance without either the XY coordinates or a hash table. We see in the multi-room task that CogNGen performs as well as the BBold and R&D models, and the standard deep Q network is unable to learn the task at all. We see the same pattern with the door unlock task. CogNGen performs well, and the standard deep Q network is not able to learn the task. Finally, CogNGen is the only model able to learn the memory task well, thanks to its working memory buffer system, allowing CogNGen to retain knowledge of the object it has seen at the start of the task, which it learns to use to make the correct choice of path. Here we see the standard deep Q network is only able to learn the random room task. Conversely, CogNGen is the only model able to learn the memory task.
In conclusion, in this study, CogNGen has been shown to successfully learn the maze tasks, even outperforming the powerful RL baselines on the memory task itself. As a result, our cognitive architecture empirically demonstrates a synergy between a classic human memory model and neural predictive processing circuits, paving the way for the creation of adaptive agents that elicit goal-orienting behavior. Future work will entail generalizing CogNGen to its ultimate goal of conducting online continual RL, as well as constructing modules for other elements of declarative memory and a basal ganglia information router.